There's only one, there's only one. It's only one, just only one, just love and happiness, beauty and holiness. Only one, just only one, just love and happiness.
Yeah.
There's 4 seconds left in this game.
Hey guys, it's Jess. Welcome back to my channel. And this is my husband, Jonathan. So we are going to do a part 2 to our video. The video of like how we broke up and God brought us back together. So we just wanted to do a part 2 to answer a little bit more questions that you guys have, or just reiterate some things. Sometimes it's nice to hear things twice, and just answer some other questions that you guys have had from us moving forward. I will say, if you haven't watched the first one yet, definitely watch that one first. I feel like we went really into depth of why we broke up, how we broke up, what happened when we were apart, and how we both heard from God about certain things. Okay, we can pause really quick so you can watch the last 4 seconds.
That was such a stupid... Alright, continue.
Yeah, it really goes into depth about like what we did during our waiting period, or our deciding on if we should get back together, how we heard from God, and all those things, because a lot of you guys are still asking us what we did in the waiting and how we heard from God, and we'll answer it again, but we did answer them before in depth. So watch the first video. I'll link it somewhere or at the end of this video and in the description box. So we will get on into this video. But first, we want to thank today's sponsor, which is JamesAllen.com, for sponsoring today's video. So my husband and I, we got our rings from JamesAllen.com, and when I tell you guys, I get compliments on my rings all the time. I mean, all the time. So what I love about JamesAllen.com is you can design your dream engagement ring. Everything is super customizable based on your personal preferences and budget. And the budget part was very important to us because y'all know when my husband proposed to me, he was still in school. So we had to stick within a budget, and JamesAllen.com definitely helped us to achieve that goal. So they have thousands of settings and over 150,000 diamonds to choose from. So when I tell you the pickings are not slim, you can literally have a field day going through all the different settings and diamonds, and literally you can choose the ring that's perfect for you. Also, something really great about the website is that you can spin the ring and the diamond in 360 degrees, so you can see the ring from every angle just to make sure you really like it before you go forth and purchase it. So honestly guys, I love our rings so much. Go ahead and head to JamesAllen.com, find the perfect ring for you or your spouse. I'll leave all the information in the description box, and let's head on into the rest of this video. Okay, so let's get into these questions. All right, how did I feel during that break period? I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning I wanted to die. I'm just being honest. Like, every morning I woke up, I was crying. I couldn't get off the couch. I just didn't want to go out. I didn't want to answer my phone. Every single thing I did, I wanted to call Jonathan and tell him, like, oh my gosh, guess what happened? Even though nothing was happening, I just wanted to call him, because for like a year and a half, he was my like constant, like, text him, wake up in the morning, text him, I'm bored, I text him, like, you know, and I didn't have that anymore. So I just felt lost, and I was really sad. And so like sometimes I woke up in the morning and I was so mad that God woke me up again. I'm like, what's the point? Like, why am I still here? Like, what's the deal? Which is, it sounds bad, but I know.
What's the point of living?
I'll kill you. But I was really sad. How did you cope when God told you he was your husband? First of all, God told me Jonathan was my husband years ago, okay? And I will say, you probably should not tell a man that God told you he was your husband, because it will scare them if they haven't heard the same thing. But I thought it was weird that he was scared, because he's the one who told me that God told me I was his wife.
I never said that.
He did. He doesn't remember.
I said that God told you?
Yes. Or he told me, like, I know we're gonna get married one day. Or you did say that.
I said that like,
and he said that before I ever even told him that I liked him.
I didn't invoke the name of God.
Okay, maybe he didn't. Anyway, maybe he didn't say God told you you're my wife, but he did say I know we're gonna get married one day, and that was before I even told him that I liked him. He was like 17, and I was like, it's, yeah, you thought.
Was that like joking?
And then,
I was flirting.
Yeah, whatever. And you don't flirt like that. You don't flirt and tell someone that God told me I'm gonna marry you.
I didn't say God told me anything. Stop putting that to the remote.
How do you feel during a breakup period?
Not good. It felt bad. You feel really sad. It kind of gets that. I mean, in a very much lesser scale, it kind of feels like the feeling of losing a loved one, even though that person is still there. And I'm not saying this to belittle anyone's death of any loved one. We've all experienced that. There are some similar feelings. The feeling of it being kind of surreal. You get all those emotions, like especially in the beginning, and like any sort of grief, over time it gets more manageable.
I will say though, I feel like men and women break up differently because like the first week of our breakup, this is before I ended up blocking Jonathan on social media, but I was checking his stories, like he was out to brunch with the boys and like he was out playing basketball with the boys and stuff while I'm like in tears, like dying. And I'm like, I know he is not getting mimosas right now. We just broke up 4 days ago and he was outside, okay? He was outside.
Okay, outside is strong because outside implies that I was wilding.
Yeah.
Right? It was just me and all guy friends like doing like, you know, just regular guy stuff. And I say that because up until like before me and just started dating, I don't think like I had many superficial friend relationships, but over the course of us dating and before that, I started forming really like good male connections where due to just emotional baggage, I only had like really close women friends and like not many really close guy friends. It was more superficial up until that. But as I started building more guy friendships, when we had the breakup, I was able to talk to my friends, and they were able to help lift me up and allow me to, kind of get out of the cycle of being very internal. So I mean, I was still really sad. I was still going through it, but being able to go out with my my friends and have them help lift me up and take my mind off of it was good. Yeah. But when you're not together anymore, you don't see the struggle. You only see what goes on social media.
Yeah.
And social media isn't real life.
Yeah. Everybody's different. I'll put it that way because I could not leave my house, but everybody's different. This is a quick one. How serious was your breakup? Like, did anyone cheat?
No.
None of us. We never cheated on each other through our dating relationship, and so far in our marriage, there was no cheating. If there was cheating, we would not be married right now. I can guarantee you that. All right. How did y'all know you needed to get back together? Did God show you? Which I said, like, we went into much deeper detail in the first video about this entire thing. But it all just boils down to peace about it. But I think Jonathan can more so answer this question because I was the one who never wanted to break up, really.
You broke up with me, though.
I did, but only because... Yeah, adjust yourself. I only broke up with him because he was not sure still if he wanted to be with me. So I was like, I'm done. But I always knew, like, this is what I want. I'm set on this. I knew that from years ago when I like prayed and fasted over it for 3 days, no food, no nothing. And I was positive that God told me that Jonathan was going to be my husband. I knew this. I knew this before we were even dating. So we're going on 3 years. We're going on 3 years and 2 months. I knew this 3 years ago before we were even dating. Maybe 4 years ago. God showed me Jonathan was my husband. But God did not show him that. Not yet. So you can go ahead on that one because I've been new. How did you know that you needed to get back together? Did God show you?
Back together. Okay. The other video has a lot of this, but I'll just sum it up shortly. I spent a lot of time with God in a way that I never have before and never have since. Just really me and him locked in together. And for me, I was searching for answers, right? I came to God like banging on his door, searching for answers, just over the course of the breakup, and just like, going to mountains, like to go to the mountaintop and say, God, please tell me something, because I wanted to have peace about the situation. I just didn't, and I couldn't move forward without peace. That wouldn't be fair to Jess, wouldn't be fair to myself. And I went to parks, I sat in silence for hours, I did all the things. And the main thing that God told me in that time was, you came here looking for answers, but I'm going to give you myself. Like, I'm going to give you what you need. And then if you needed the answer to the Jess thing, I would give it to you, but you don't need it yet, so I'm not giving you anything. Which was frustrating, but there was just one day after going to the mountains and visiting parks and XYZ, I went to sleep and took a nap on the couch. And then when I woke up, I just knew in like my heart that like the peace was like unleashed. It's like, I'm gonna marry Jess. And it went from a moment of not knowing to a moment of knowing. And I know, like, if you're in your period of uncertainty, that's like, well, what were the steps? Like, what did you do? Like, what was the prayer? Like, it's nothing like that because there was nothing that I can really like do to explain to you, like the peace was unraveling, and no, it was just like I woke up, I went to sleep, I was very confused, didn't know what I was gonna do. I had myself on a time frame. I was feeling stressed. I'm like, and if by the end of that time frame, like I didn't have an answer, I was gonna be prepared to let her go.
Yeah.
Which was scary to me because I didn't want to let her go, but I didn't have peace. But it was just like God unleashed like a feeling of peace over me. And that's kind of how that happened. I mean, you can't make that happen, It's just from that relationship being forged with God, cutting out a lot of social media, cutting out a lot of other distractions where I was able to hear God speak more clearly then than I ever had in my life. If you're not hearing God or you're uncertain with what God's saying, make sure that you're living your life at a pace in which you can listen to what he needs to say to you.
All right, someone wants to know, what are the things you would leave your partner over? What would make you leave me?
What? I feel like this is a dating question.
Okay.
Because I'm not leaving Jess.
That's nice.
So I'm not gonna answer this as a marriage question.
Okay, it can be
I think this is what they mean too.
Oh man.
Yeah. I accidentally clicked it to the bottom of the page.
It's okay. Okay. For dating, while we were dating, what would you have left me over?
No.
Besides not knowing.
Well, okay. No, I got you. Number one, first and foremost, biggest thing that would cause me to leave a relationship is if someone did not believe in Jesus as well. Hella people get caught up. It's not like uncommon. It's not uncommon, but like that's one of those things like where it's really just not. It's not worth it because you're not aligned on the most basic aspects of how you feel like you should structure your life, especially when you have kids. Out. Two, something I would leave over infidelity before marriage. I think that's good cause to leave. I'm not saying if you didn't leave, it's that your X or your Y or Z, but I think that's a strong reason to leave.
There are just so many things. It's like you can tell that he really just doesn't like you, but you're doing everything you can in your power to like make him like you. Like some people are dating men who really just don't like them, but they're like, oh, but I just want to be with him so bad, so I'm gonna just keep trying. I think he's just having a bad day. Like if you're constantly making excuses for like your man's actions because you don't want to face the fact that he just is not into you, and you're like, oh no, he just didn't call me today because he's just in a bad mood. He's just acting weird because he lost his job 6 months ago and he just doesn't like to talk anymore. Like if you have to make excuses, you should probably head on out. Any like form of disrespect, anything like that, like if he's flirting with other girls in front of you, it might not cause for an automatic breakup, but like a stern conversation. But once you talk about something for real and they keep doing it, like a repeat offender, like
you gave me a good idea. I think the right question is reasons not to stay. Because I can list a trillion reasons on why to leave. It's like you shouldn't stay one because you're afraid of being alone.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying? Like you shouldn't stay because you're afraid of being alone. And I know plenty of people. Yeah. Personally. Yeah. Who have known that God has called them out of a relationship, or know that even their emotions are calling them out of a relationship, and stay because it's like, well, I don't want to be alone through X season, Y season. My birthday's coming up. Yeah. Or the holidays coming up. Don't want to be alone for the holidays. Yeah. That is not a reason to stay with someone. It's not fair to you. It's definitely not fair to them. That's not a reason to stay. It's not a reason to stay.
Or we just put in so much time.
We put in so much time.
We've been together for 9 years, bro. I can't imagine starting over with someone else. Like they're gonna change. When someone says we put in so much time, I'm like, do you realize how much more time you're gonna be wasting? Another 3 years and then you break up anyways? That's my least favorite excuse. Like, oh, we have so much history, put in so much time, but like the relationship sucks. That's the worst. Get out of there.
It's called the sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
It's like, I've already invested so much. Yeah. I feel like there's a few more, but I'll leave that like that for right now.
Yeah. So this question, I love answering this question because, so it said, what were some of the prayers or devotionals you did during your season of waiting? And my favorite one, I watched it was actually a sermon. It was from Transformation Church, but it wasn't Michael Todd. It was one of their guest speakers. Her name is Bree Davis. It's called I'm Glad I Lost. And I listened to it like 4 times because it really got me. I think she helped me get through. Basically, the first year of her marriage, God told her that she was going to marry this man years ago. She saved herself for marriage. The first year she got married, her husband cheated on her. And it just went through all the things that she went through during the season of like defeat. Like, God, you told me that I was going to marry this man. I saved myself. I did everything right. And this man did me this way. And she talks about how God repaired her faith in him to continue on in their marriage. And it just resonated so much with me. Not that I was like, God, like, I mean, it kind of was. I'm like, God, you told me this is my husband. Like, what's up? Like, we're doing things right and it's not working. Like, what's the deal? But it's called I'm Glad I Lost by Bree Davis, Transformation Church. Also, devotional Hope in the Dark is really good. I know I read that a few times. This is before we got
You read the devotional, I read the book.
Yeah, maybe the book's good, I don't know. The devotional Hope in the Dark, I read that before we were dating, but it's while we were trying to figure it out and while he was like driving me insane, and it helped me a lot. So those are my 2.
Hearing God by Dallas Willard was really foundational in me and my knowledge on how God speaks to us. I read If You Want to Walk on Water, You've Got to Get Out of the Boat by John Ortberg. That was a good book as well. And then the last one I read, The Gift of Being Yourself, The Sacred Call to Self-Discovery, which helped me kind of deal with a lot of the lingering things like within myself. God used the book to help complete the work he needed to do in me to prepare me to be a husband.
Good job, babe.
I'm doing a lot of talking.
No, you're alright. How to decipher if the message from God is telling you to fight for the relationship or to leave. There was also one that said, how do you know if God's telling you to leave or if you're self-sabotaging? I really think it comes down to the peace. Like, peace is huge. It really is huge. Like, in our relationship, the first half of our relationship before we got back together, I feel like we were both lacking peace. And we just knew it. Like, we kept saying, like, we don't want to break up. Like, we would literally have conversations saying, we know we need to break up, but we don't want to. Like, do you remember those? Like, we would have those conversations, like, I know you need time to yourself. And he was like, I know I need time to be alone, because he would be jumping from relationship to relationship without being alone. And we're like, we know we need to break up, but we just don't want to. We can't find the right time. Like, we didn't have the full peace. I feel like if you're in a season where you're like, is God telling me to fight or to leave? I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's giving leave, but that would just be for me. Like, when you feel peace about your relationship, there is no second guessing of maybe I should leave. Because after we got back together, there wasn't 1 second that I ever thought, I want to get out of this. Because I had the full peace knowing that we were supposed to be together and it was right this time. The first time around, I was like, something is not right here. So, damn, how long ago did it die? Maybe it just died. Alright, our camera just kind of died. So I'm hoping it died at the spot where we were talking. But the question was how to decipher if the message from God is telling you to pretty much leave or stay. And like I was saying, I just feel like the peace, you would know. If you have to make excuses of, well, maybe he's telling me to stay. When it's right, your peace will surpass the understanding. Like, you'll just know. Like, there's no second guessing.
I think there are also going to be times where God says the decision is yours. You know, so I mean, if you're asking me like, how do I know it's right, not right? How do I know like for sure or for not for sure if God is in it or not in it or says it's my choice, whatever? I think the best answer is to get in the room with him, talk to him about it.
All right, someone said, did you have any struggles with the age gap or were there any naysayers? Actually, I want to know that about you. I will say in the beginning,
Why you big toe your picture?
That's actually very funny. Maybe it's like the what's it called? Like a Finsta? It's probably a Finsta. Any struggles with the age gap? Definitely in the beginning, before we started dating. Like when I realized that he liked me, I had struggles with that. When we started dating, he was 22, I was 27. That's crazy still to me. But at that time, I didn't have any struggles with it because Jonathan, most of you can tell by now, Jonathan is very mature. He's always been very mature for his age, which is the only reason I feel like we are in this position because whatever. So I didn't really have that much issues. My parents never had an issue. They've never brought up his age to me. My brothers never nobody has brought up your age to me ever, actually.
Not seriously.
No, yeah, not really, but not even like jokingly either.
Yeah, I get jokes.
No one ever said anything about his age to me, to my face, actually, at least. Probably behind my back. What was said?
No, just some jokes.
What?
Like people that don't know you.
What they say?
Like nothing that's worth even talking about. It wasn't bad. There's nothing bad at all. No, nothing. Yeah.
Alright, so this is a question that we get all the time. This girl said, my boyfriend and I have been abstaining. How did you guys ever get through? You just keep trying. If you fall, you talk about it, you figure out new ways. It's like you make boundaries. Say your boundary is, hey, we can't hang out past 9 p.m. And then like it works for a little bit, and then you realize right around 8:55 you start getting handsy because you realize it was time to go. Maybe you cut it a little earlier. All right, let's move it to 7. If it's, hey, we can only hang out in friend settings, like figure out where you're falling and turn it into a boundary. If you realize you can't hang, there was a lot of times where we were like, we can't hang out alone. Because that's when we realized we started getting a little frisky. We're like, we have to always be around people. And for a period of time, he was like, you can't come to my house unless my parents are home, or unless my brother's home. Like, it was really giving kindergarten, elementary. I hated it. I hated everything about it. But I think the biggest thing really is to, like, one, figure out where you're falling and then make boundaries based on that. And to just keep trying, keep going. Like, if you realize, okay, we were messing up a lot last week. It's like, all right, well, let's just keep messing up. Like, no, just keep swimming. Like, just keep trying. I will say, during our period of abstinence, like, this is impossible. There's no, like, this was like in the first year of our marriage, of us dating, and I was like, bro, we're probably not gonna get married for another 3 years. Like, I was questioning God a lot. Like, why did you think this was a good, like, what were you thinking? Like, this is impossible. You can't make it through. Just keep trying. Keep trying.
One thing I would say, holiness over convenience. There were things that we did, and like 9 times it'd be fine, but we know that like every 10th time would be a mess up. Like you can like plan on every like X time being a mess up.
Yeah.
And for things like that, we would just not do it. Or we try at least our best. Not to do the thing that we knew that could be a trigger for a mess ups. Like so, all the obvious things. Try not to hang out too late. X, Y, and Z. But one thing that I wish we did do that we didn't do, which I think is so important, is like living in the light. Having people that maybe it's a married couple that you already know. Maybe it's another couple that you do know, that you're willing to live in the light around. That can keep you accountable. That's like that's like dedicated to keeping you like. I mean, that's not their job, but like dedicated to that. If you make a mistake, you feel like you have to open up to this person, because knowing that someone is going to keep you accountable is going to be night and day.
Yeah. So all those things. It's not just like a one-stop shop. It takes some serious work. Just like anything that's hard takes work. Like it takes work, and you literally just have to keep trying, keep persisting, keep pressing. It's okay. Just keep pressing, keep trying. The accountability partner is great. Someone who actually cares, you know, that you're messing up and stuff like that. So a lot of you guys have asked a lot how to know someone's the one, or what does it feel like when someone's the one. And Jonathan just said something.
My dad told me, I asked him this question. I asked a lot of people the different versions of that same exact question. And my dad had the one that stuck with me the longest. He said, when it's right, it feels right. And that sentence plagued me for so long. Especially like in our relationship, when I didn't have peace. I'm like, well, it doesn't feel right now. And I was just like, so like, you know, like, I was already like, you know, high strung and anxious about it. And it's like, when it's right, it feels right. It doesn't feel right. It's right. And it never felt right with any other person in any other situation up until when God gave me the peace, in which case it made sense. That statement. Like, it's like, oh, this is it. That feeling of peace where it's like, oh, I can calmly say, so I'm like, I think I might want to No, it's like, oh, I want to marry Jess.
Yeah.
Just knew it, and like, it felt right. And I think that's a good rule of thumb. I mean, obviously the person should check like basic boxes. In general, it's a good rule of thumb. Like if you already checked all the other boxes.
So yeah, that's really it, to be honest. Like I feel like when it's right, it feels right is literally a thing. Because like watching these shows like, oh, Love is Blind, when they're engaged and they're like, oh, we're supposed to get married in a week, but like I feel like this person's the one for me, but I'm just not sure. It's like those, I don't even know how that goes like together. It's like while we were dating, like, yes, we were the ones for each other. The one, even though the one, that's a whole nother something
no
else.
such thing.
I don't want to say there's no such thing, but the saying is not necessarily the correct saying. Anyway, we were, the one. We'll just use that for right now. But if we were to get married at the time while we were confused, it would have been wrong. It wouldn't have been wrong. Wouldn't have been right because we knew it wasn't right at the time. So I really feel like you just need to trust yourself and not. I stress this with so many women, like, don't lie to yourself. I feel like female intuition is the right thing, or we can call it discernment. Like, when you know something's wrong, like, don't make excuses for it. Don't lie to yourself and be like, oh no, it's fine. Like, that's not a big deal. It's something I can deal with. And you know it's wrong, but you want it to be right so bad. If you have to ask yourself, like, oh, is this the one? Is this right? It's either not right now, or it's not right at all. So then, at the end of the day, the answer is just no at that time. So I feel like it's all about just not lying to yourself, really pressing into God to get his answer and that peace. Give God the space and time, like Jonathan said before, to actually speak to you. Like, don't just pray and expect your answer the next morning. It's like, oh, I didn't get the answer, so I'm gonna just continue on or whatever. Like, give him the time.
I feel like a lot of us, especially me around that time, we treat God like a spiritual magic 8-ball, magic 8-ball. One thing God is gonna send like you alerts for, feelings of unsureness for. Might not be about the relationship at all. It might be like, before you get to that place where you can marry somebody, that I need you to be in a different place. I want to change your heart. It's not necessarily about your actions or who you're picking, whatever. It's about you and your heart. And I think God's much more interested in that with what job you decide, who you're marrying, but the condition of your heart and your spirit. And I think God wants to work that first. I was gonna say something else, but my brain's not working anymore.
But it's okay. We're both tired. It's like almost 11 o'clock. So I hope that answers some more of y'all questions. Like I said, I highly suggest that you watch the first video. I feel like it was much more like informational and like it really just went down the timeline of how everything went and what we did and how we did it and how God spoke and how we move forward and things like that. So we'll leave the resources of the books and the YouTube videos we watched in the description box that helped us. But the main thing, like, I can't leave Jesus, in the description box. Like, that's like the main first response. That should be our first response, and then everything else after. But God, talking to God, turning to Jesus should always be, if you're, a Christian, your first response. So even if you're not, first response, it couldn't hurt. You know what I'm saying? So do you have anything else you want to say, babe?
I would. If my brain wasn't cooked. It's so cooked.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. We love y'all so much. Again, thanks to James Allen for sponsoring today's video for our beautiful rings. And we will see you guys in our next one. Bye.
There's only one. It's only one, just only one, just